We've had a couple of resubs to kick off our cast, by the way. Sorry we missed them. Hula Vuesi for 26 months. Damn! And also another big one, El Borracho, 15 months as well. Thank you guys for supporting the channel for so long. But in the bottom right side of Frozen Temple, we've got the Red Zerg player. It is Bly.
The top left as the blue Protoss, it is ShoWTimE.
The ShoWTimE opting for the further out wall. This is totally fine. We've seen a couple of different ways to open this, and usually it involves the top of the ramp. But I guess if you get your initial wall down here quicker and sooner, you can save your natural and your main with the same wall off. My one fear for this, though, is with the map being deceptively long. It's actually kind of short. It does leave the opportunity for Bly to have gone for an early pull, to have gotten the sort of same tactics he used against his opponent just now, and get maybe a pylon kill early.
Yeah, but that is what the early scout was for. I guess he saw the drone trying to get a hatchery down, walled that off, or blocked it off rather, and then, well, Bly just went for the other hatchery. Not a big deal, but certainly something that ShoWTimE can be comfortable now going for a Nexus after Gateway with, where if he had scouted an early pool, I mean, he would have to try and wall off, which is the most difficult thing to do on Frozen Temple. It's not that wide of a wall off. Two, like, a Gateway, some X-Core, a pylon, and then another pylon, and I think maybe even a third pylon. Yeah, because he's left the wall open on the right side. So it's a little...
This has been a little annoying, but I guess the other thing about Frozen Temple to cover, again, it's one of the newer maps, guys, so some of you may not have seen this, is that there's a lot of really wide open areas on the map. I mean, once you tear these rocks down, even just half of them going away, this is a huge area to fight with. Big, wide open ramps over here, and of course, no real chokes to work with. So for Bly's sake, where he expands I feel is not that big of a deal, because he's just going to be able to use his army and mobility either way. It's a little more important for ShoWTimE to be careful and make sure there's SimCity and such, because if you take a base down here, you're going to have a real bad time versus Zerg.
Well, the third base is not the easiest, so it's not the Protoss's most, it's not his favorite map. But yet again, I guess that is the map pool in general. Protoss aren't appreciating it that much. As it is the Matcherino and not the Elite League, we do have all the maps available. It's loser's pick. So no special one, no detox in here anymore. And now we have Avex's Invader. And there certainly will be a couple people who are going to choose those weirder maps to try and get a couple of free wins with cheese. I'm thinking a lot of Core Hall right now, but also Ruins. As it's the same concept. You do early pool and then you go for the rocks to break down and you're good to go.
I really do want to bring Detox back though. Like I'm gonna be honest, my favorite thing, like I know they're trying to change a lot of stuff about maps and they want to experiment with new tactics being forced upon players, and that's fine. I really liked what Detox did though. Maybe the map itself wasn't up to Blizzard standards and that's fine. But I like the idea that Detox was this map where everything was attacker advantage, not defender's advantage. And we got some of the best games on that map. And I wish that's the direction we'd go, instead of weird, like, thirds and hard fourths to take. Because, I mean, that's, I think, the biggest trend we saw since Orbital Shipyard, where some maps will give you, like, an easy third, but then, like, an impossible fourth. Or, on this map, like, even here, the third is questionable, much less taking a fourth.
The fourth, I mean, if you have secured your third, it is along the lines of a couple of other maps that we've had, and I can't recall names right now, but where if you have the third, the fourth isn't so bad, but securing the third is always very difficult to do, because by the time you're looking for a fourth, you have like a max out army, and you have like SAG defense and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it being like right next to the third isn't such a big deal, but actually getting the third, I mean, you're going to see probably Protoss try the first way to do things is to pressure and then get your third. Eventually we'll see just very safe thirds taken by Protoss. I mean, they're going to try at least, and I'm sure people like Bly are going to be looking for opportunities to tear it down while they're still just not quite prepared. But an adept attack, so saying maybe attack and expand, but ShoWTimE's actually investing into double Stargates, so just now has the minerals for a Nexus, but I don't know if he's comfortable in taking one, as Adepts really didn't do a whole lot of damage. They killed 6 drones, but they didn't get into the main or natural. They didn't scout, they didn't, cause Bly to kind of fumble around with his lings. They're just doing an attack right now, which he had to be prepared for.
Okay, so shouts to Dr. Edition, by the way, or Dradition. It's 23 months, thank you so much. The Adepts, really, it was a lot of trading for Ling, so that was good for Bly. That could have been much worse if that had been a lot of drone kills. But for ShoWTimE, that wasn't exactly a huge investment. I do worry, though, because with double Stargates, is this going to be a whammy that catches Bly off guard, or is this going to be something kind of fumbles for ShoWTimE? Because if ShoWTimE is playing with, 80 Phoenix, congratulations, you can lift everything on the map up. But getting to that number is kind of unrealistic. And Bly's going for a lot of units right now that, lots of Lings, lots of Roaches, ideally some Hydras. The Phoenix aren't going to be able to lift all that up. The Phoenix aren't going to be able to fight all of that.
Bly's also getting a couple extra queens and is pushing the creep spread pretty hard. Already in the middle of the map. It's not a very big map to begin with, so it's quite easy. I mean, I don't expect it to be like Lairlac Crest, which had about a week or two where the queen roach push dominated, because you could get the creep spread over to your opponent's base like stupidly quick. But I could see that actually being a build. Bly bringing all of his queens over because he knows it's mass Phoenix. There's no roaches yet, still just getting queens. A little supply blocked for ShoWTimE, it looks like. Oh, there's the pylon finishing up. These Lings didn't do a whole lot, but they're keeping the army supply down.
Right, and I'm curious, I look at the vision, Bly's never actually made it to the main. So, I mean, obviously he knows it's a Stargate, there's Phoenix down, but he doesn't know there's two. The roaches are interesting to me because maybe you make Ravagers, maybe you get a Corrosive Bile combined with like a Fungal Growth later, if you're really worried about these. But nothing here really tells me he's worried about the Stargate at all. And for ShoWTimE, I like that he's kind of recognized that Bly's not taking the bait either, because he's got double Robos now, and he needs that production.
I like ShoWTimE's positioning here. God, I can't remember that map. Heavy Rain. Wow, how did I remember that? Right? Was that what it's called? I mean, that's a video game, too. I feel like they both have the same name.
There was a map called Heavy Rain, but I don't know where you're going with this. So.
Yes, okay. So Heavy Rain had this, kind of the same idea. There was a lower path to be taken through the middle that you could actually break down by rocks. So most people didn't take it. But some people did, because it was the fastest route. So you had Protoss actually just staying on top of that ramp in particular and waiting for force field, which is what ShoWTimE's doing right now. And that's great because this is the most likely path, as we can see, for everyone to take. But if they just go around, then obviously there's still a problem. There's no rocks to the right and left.
I love that the Queen's going first. They're going to soak a lot of the hits and the damage. They're going to have those transfuses going. Corrosive Biles can break these force fields, so he won't get stuck here for too long. The Queen's just soaking some of the damage, perhaps not too favorable in this position. But once again, it's not the Ravagers getting trapped. It's not the Ravagers going down. It's the Queens, which are questionable to the importance of this attack. They're going to be the anti-air, and the Ravagers are starting to peter out. Not looking so hot here for Bly because he's not got upgrades. There's no tech. This is, as weird as it is to consider, a bit of an all-in coming out of him, as these Roaches and Ravagers are intent to win the game here, not just to trade out a little bit.
For the opportunity there, ShoWTimE really had the best defense available. I think he's already played against this with this map against this build or type of player quite often. He seems to be, in fact, dominating. The Lings coming through are a little bit scary, but he does have a couple of Zealots on the front lines to help. The Immortals are being saved. None of them have died yet, and a couple of their barriers are going off cooldown. And he has pushed this back a lot because he was specifically prepared for it. 2 pylons, the force fields that went down. I mean, Ravagers can break them, but that's a use of their Corrosive Bile. And in fact, we saw Bly, I think he broke 2 force fields when the rest were trying to hit the Phoenix and the other units combined. Queen's being taken out. That was just, it was the best that I think ShoWTimE could have hoped for. And now he's in a pretty good position. Bly was really down on drones to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's going to try and actually macro a little bit. I didn't realize this was all hatchery tech, by the way. This is not even a layer. Bly's tech is so far behind this game. Meanwhile, ShoWTimE's got +1 weapons. He's got a superior army in a grand way. To be honest, I don't know what Bly can really do. He doesn't have the economy to carry him through this by throwing bodies at the wall. He doesn't have enough drones to even transfer to this 4th he's taking. And while this goes on, once more, ShoWTimE's advanced tech continues to become more advanced. The rich get richer, +2 weapons around the way. Zealot Charge is about to come out. Charge Light Immortal. This is where you just roll your eyes if you're any non-Protoss player out there. Kind of oh really? That's the strategy you went for? Surprising.
Yeah.
But Bly did kill so many Phoenix. I do wonder, had he not lost so much army, if he were able to buy more time, would a Mutaswap work in this situation? Because there really isn't that much anti-air.
Maybe. See, he was at 45 drones when he did that or something. He only made a couple of drones just now, or a minute ago. So I don't know if you would even have that much of a bank to go for Mutas. And with Frozen Temple not being a very long map, even though ShoWTimE's going to have a Warp Prism, so his aggression, oh, he's getting one right now, his aggression wouldn't have been stopped. Like, he just would have warped in Stalkers, as Bly got, like, 6 or 7 Muta, like, not even that much of a scary amount. But it's, I mean, I feel like that was really akin to the Lairlac Crest all-in. I think it was a little bit later.
Oh.
Okay, that's an ambitious 5th.
Bly's really trying to guess at these Phoenixes, and not quite going to work for him. The positions were good. The timing just didn't favor where he was landing those Corrosive Biles. But being honest in chat and reminding everybody, yes, this is in fact the best of 3, so we got quite some action going on here for this first one. And Lurkers could certainly bring this back in a small way. I do like that Spire, though. Again, I can't say that he's going to have the money to do this, and I don't even know if he's going to have the time, more importantly, to build them. But if it's for a Muta transition, that's really cool. If it's for Hive Tech, even better. I am curious what that Infestation Pet leads towards, because whether he's making Lurkers, Hive Tech, or Spire units, they're all going to be far too expensive for Bly to really dedicate to.
Yeah. He's been on either below 50 or just above 50 drones for this entire game. Like, to actually get a 5th seems very... Like, I mean, why bother? You don't even have that many drones to send to a 5th. So, his main's being attacked by that War Prism that took a very roundabout way to get there. His 5th is going to go down. At least he canceled it, so that was nice by a bunch of Zealots. And ShoWTimE just has too good of an army. Even if he got to Lurkers, as long as ShoWTimE didn't go through a choke... which there's not really too many to go through, just the one in the middle, basically. He would be fine. You know, break down the rocks over here and then take the concave. Mutas, again, they'd only be coming out in 7 or 8, and ShoWTimE still does have double Stargate to, combat that.
He's also finally added in some disruptors to the army, which are the absolute bane of things like Ravagers. So Bly, who was able to for a time buy that time, no longer able to. Zealot's attacking the natural base while this goes on, and he's got to pick defend this extra base or go back home and defend it. He is going to go back home to defend. Keeps that Roach Warren alive. This army, though, for Bly, I look at this and you're like, okay, this is a strong army, except a couple well-placed disruptor hits take out a 4th of it.
Yeah. Disruptors are, oh god. Even if the disruptors don't get any hits, this army for ShoWTimE is just so bulky. It's, these charge lots, they have +2, there's a couple of Archons, and of course that Immortal count, which has been growing since the very beginning. Queen's going down, no more buffer for the Ravagers.
There are actually good Corrosive Bile hits going on through this, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter because ShoWTimE is going to be able to just keep making more units over and over and over again. And Bly's losing his bases, losing his income. He's trying to go for a counterattack with the Mutas. Not going to happen. Not going to be the transition he was hoping for. Cannons are waiting for him. Phoenix are waiting for him. And these last few Ravages are going to be the last bit of health that Bly has. Less hope, that Bly has.
Yep, this is game. But it's been game for a while. Bly had an opportunity, I suppose, to try macro out of a failed all-in, but it never happened. I mean, I think he was trying to go for, like, the macro really hard and make up for it with those extra 2 bases.
Yeah.
But he didn't even have the drones for it.
I mean, I liked the idea of what Bly had, but it was just the chance of it actually working was so low. Just on account of the fact that there was no drones to work with. He had an impending army that he knew was coming. I think Bly made the best of a bad position, but it still just wasn't good enough, is how I would sum up that into the game. But he tried to all-in, and it didn't work. We've all seen it too many times, guys. We know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, it's going to be Bly's pick for map 2, so just waiting to see what we're getting into next.
Yep. I did ask him. He PM'd me saying that his friend has the same last name as me. And that was very surprising.
Well, I mean, he's from, like, Ukraine. Slavic history. I mean,
it still is, like, because originally our name was different in Russian. And he'll, like, Z's and Y's and stuff. And then
I wonder, like, because, okay,
it.
my mother's maiden name is Sugiyama, right?
Okay.
My last name is Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
Sugiyama being an Asian name probably has a higher chance that there's going to be more people with that last name than someone with Rogers. But I've met more people in my life that have had the last name of Rogers. So, I mean, shrug.
Okay, it's a very common white person name, but your mom's name isn't a very common last name, is it? I mean, just from my weeaboo days, like watching anime and like manga.
I have no idea. My thoughts are the land of like Japan and Asia. There's like way more people, just in general, on the Earth that
Yeah,
could
that's
potentially
true.
have that last name, then there are people who, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, Ruins of Endion is the second map pick for this. One of the other new maps. Enjoy the very odd intro. I want to rework this intro. I'm not happy with it, to be honest, guys, but we'll get into it and we'll see in a sec. Alright, game number 2 for the Matcherino Cup currently underway. Spawning on the bottom left side of Ruins of Endion. It is going to be the blue Zerg player, Bly.
In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, it is ShoWTimE.
And gotta give a shout out and some thank you to Crank for the 78 viewer host. Hello, all of Crank's friends and family. Make sure you come over to BaseTradeTV so we can see you type in chat. You're tuning into the Matcherino Cup. We're still in the early rounds of the tournament. If you guys are live with us here on Twitch, type ! brackets. Because again, players like Beastie Cutie, Mana, Billowy, Guru, Snoot, just to name a few. There's some really awesome people. Of course, let's not forget Hydra and TLO are currently playing right now, even though we're not casting it.
Dude, Foreigner Orchid, like, with the knowledge bombs. I was gonna say, like, Japanese aren't that dominant, but Chinese, I have met about a dozen Chungs. Like, that's pretty common last name.
Well, anyways, as we get into this one, Ruins of Endion has some weird dynamics when it comes to rocks. I just want to point out really quick for those who still haven't seen the map yet at this point. Over here, you can knock this off, and it will wall off the full part of your map with 3 to 4 bases initially. There's a weird-ass face in the middle of the map. Try not to see it. Too late. I've ruined it for you. And the funny thing is we've cast a couple of games on this map now where every time the choice has been, yeah, Zerg tried to knock down these rocks here, but then we saw the counterattack through the south rocks. I don't know. It's a bit odd. So Bly, he gets across the map quick. Maybe pounces on a pylon. Maybe fights the zealot. Okay, cool. If he tears down the rocks, he kind of sets himself up for this really nice, like, okay, you're not rushing me with anything other than a warp prism situation, and that's fine too. But ShoWTimE here is not going to take a loss on a pylon. There's going to be a second zealot out shortly. He kind of expects Bly to be doing this sort of early lane shenanigans. I mean, this is Bly since 2013, right?
I mean, ShoWTimE feels very well prepared against Bly specifically, and he might be. Like, maybe he really has been paying attention to Bly on lat or something like that. But I think more likely, he's just had to deal with so much similar shit. Because, you know, like, when it becomes... when there's a patch change to a unit, that's what everyone uses. You know, the Dark Templars come cheaper, everyone Dark Templar rushes, so you get used to it. When there's a map change... and the maps are kind of catered towards these early pools, you're going to get used to it no matter who you're playing. So I feel like ShoWTimE has just been playing the map pool, actually laddering, and has figured out, like, okay, on Ruins, he's going to probably early pool me. Same with Core Hall, and has a pretty perfect defense for it.
What?
Okay, that's awkward. That's very awkward. But yeah, it has a pretty perfect defense for it. Like, last game with those pylons on the high ground, this game with the early scouts combined with a very clever SimCity here, because I didn't even realize the Nexus would help protect the pylon from being fully surrounded. Well, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Actually, cool though points go to Bly. I like what his intended tactics there were. He was trying to bait these elves to chase him in the main and left 2 lings behind to kill the pylon. Had that adept not actually been made, he would have killed the pylon, and that would have been fantastic for him. Still, though, killing a couple of workers for these lings early on, not exactly cost-effective for Bly, but it was damage done. Something better than nothing at all. Now back at home, though, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. There's adepts on the way. The zealots are right here. If he had knocked these rocks down sooner, he wouldn't have to worry about this, but now he does. And he's going to have like a queen, a handful of drones and lings, and these bases are so far apart, reinforcements are going to be very difficult to get to any one of these bases.
Yeah, well, as long as you have slow lings and queens, it's certainly a reinforcement thing. Hell yeah, they're going to take a long time. I mean, Bly, there's a reason that people are early pooling, you know, like pooling. Oh my god, pooling. Holy shit. They do the early pool, and then they go for the rock break on their side, the rock break on their side, and they have like an extra minute or two to macro up and recover from an early pool. But
oh my god, that queen!
The early pool like failed pretty hard. Core is gonna go down. Just careful.
Okay, 11 workers lost is painful, but goddamn, that queen lived.
Yeah, she's a trooper.
Now, for Bly's sake, he's gonna be in this position where when he knocks down these rock towers, or his opponent's rock towers, he'll be able to comfortably drone for a time. Now the question is, how long does he drone for, and does he overdo it? This is, I think, a common problem with Zerg, and not just in this map, but this matchup where you over-drone, find yourself getting a little bit too greedy. Ling's actually, without speed, managed to catch one of the Adepts. It's kind of impressive. Both players working towards, teamwork, baby, to knock down these rocks.
I was curious about ShoWTimE doing it, but I think, yeah, it's definitely safer for him if Bly was going to follow up with something like Ling all-in, which he might have been afraid of, like, oh, what if his speed's just finished up right there, but... Now it is going to give that time Bly wanted earlier on. First, ShoWTimE has to kill his own rocks, and then kill Bly's rocks before Bly has to worry about being attacked again. Yeah. Well, except for the Phoenix, if they're going to be roaming around.
Meanwhile, over here on the right side, we got the third base taken for ShoWTimE. So, going to play a little bit of catch-up to Bly's base lead. Bly also has to knock down these rocks if he wants to take a fourth, and it looks to be what his next goal is. It's worth noting there's a Xel'Naga tower here, but for those who don't know, you can't use it unless you drop on it, which is a bit silly. So, advantage Terran, combination Reapers and Medivacs. Queen's sticking themselves out a little bit too far, a little bit awkward, considering there's not a lot of health on one of them. Easy pickings for Phoenix.
Well, the game goes on. Doesn't look so bad, but I guess in the whole scheme of things, I think it is going to still be worse for Bly. ShoWTimE had that big spike in economy, although it's starting to level out right now. It's more that he doesn't have to be afraid of being attacked. Like, both of them don't have to be, again, because of those rocks. But and his tech is the one that gets scary, you know? Like, it's, oh god, he has 8-10 Immortals and Disruptors, and I only have Lurkers. That's scarier than the Zerg getting to that tech. Unless Bly skyrocketed to Broodlords, which would be very interesting to see on this map, but I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah, actually, forget Broodlords for a moment. I think more about the Protoss Golden Armada. Tempest with the base layouts like this could be quite deadly as well. I don't know that anyone's going to take that middle base, but at least with the fourth being where they are.
Yeah, that's a decent point. And the fourth, the eyes. Oh no, he lost an eye! Oh no.
Well, I mean, he's still got these eyes.
He's got 3 others. It's fine.
I always look at this more as like weird bunny ears.
I always use them as like cheeks. When these rocks go down, they look more and more like cheeks. But anyway, Bly taking that fourth base, it is the more secure base. Unless they both break down each other's rocks, and then suddenly it's the Protoss pushing from a high ground. But that hasn't happened yet. I don't know how often it happens in the game, in the ladder rather.
So for me, a curiosity here really, really lays thick with the charge line Immortal composition. Is that going to be as effective on this map? Because for the Protoss, you get to sit back and be idle as long as you'd like to get that army up and running. Sure, we saw how hard that destroyed Bly in game number 1. But this time, Bly's going to have a lot of Hydras. He's going to actually have an army to fight with. He's even going for a Baneling Nest, which I love. We've seen a couple people starting to do this more and more. And while Zerglings are certainly good against Immortals, Banelings are probably the best way to deal with those Zealots. That's certainly true.
And they are both taking that fourth, base. So I think they should be using this middle base to attack each other. Which makes it a little more awkward. Basically, whoever's aggressive is going to really favor this position. And it felt like Bly was going to be aggressive, but he's also still getting an invitation pit. And I think he would want to wait for further tech, whether it's Lurkers, or maybe you swap the Spire, or even just Centrifugal Hooks, which has now just started. You would want to wait for that before you attacked. But waiting for that's going to give ShoWTimE a lot of time to get not just charge lots, but storms, Archons in general, great at soaking up a lot of Banelings, more Immortals, everything clumps in the Protoss army, but these are all things that can take a couple of Baneling hits.
Well, not just the Banelings, but again, a lot of emphasis here going towards what Hydras will be, and I think that's where Storms are just absolutely magnificent paired up with a couple of charge lots. But anyways, the rocks are torn down. I don't know about Bly pushing through this. There's not a lot of area. He's going to have to use a lot of force fields to stop this. And of course, force fields to stop the Banelings too. Seeing the sentries in the army is a little bit scary for Bly, so playing a little bit tentative. Would love to bait his opponent over here to the high ground, but it's not happening.
Again, without Centrifugal Hooks, maybe a bigger army, Bly is very hesitant to push in, especially with the force fields looking to cut his army in half. and he just did not want to take that fight. So he backs off. Now ShoWTimE pushing in is also, it's like, this is still very scary. Again, there could be 20 Banelings behind this, and in fact, Blai's making 16 more. Baneling speed is about to finish, and charge lots are there to take care of the Hydras. If they're taken care of by the Banelings, the Archons might not be enough.
Oh, Baneling speed's so close to finishing. Blai's starting this fight without it. That's really not too helpful. The force field's going to wear off in a moment, and Blai just hangs back and plays chill. He should be alright. There's not a lot more force fields behind that. In fact, Guardian Shield will give me a kind of necessity, I'd say, to keeping a lot of these units alive through that Hydra damage. But Banelings rolling in can also pop the shields on the Immortals. If there's any barriers left unpopped, they would be soon.
Yeah. They started to touch those Zealots, but really not a lot of the, like, ShoWTimE's been very good at the Zealot control, keeping them in the back, behind the Immortals and Archons, not letting them just die willy-nilly. And Blai, I think even without the safety taken for those Zealots, like, I think Blai just did not have a big enough army in general, and a lot probably to do with that early pool. So, yeah, great composition against what ShoWTimE had, but just attacking too late.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of ShoWTimE keeping those back. By the way, guys, I know we look at the Immortals and the Archons, we think these are the big badass units of the army, but it is the Zealots that are their true strength. They're cheap, they're easy to warp in, they deal so much freaking damage, and of course, when they slam into anything, it's always going to be bad news bears. So, Baneling's morphing in right now, hopefully going to get some last clutch hits, but likely not. Mostly go off on the Archons. Most get popped before they even get a chance to fight, and that was just Hydras against everything. Hydras against the world, and I do believe we're going to see ShoWTimE take the series at this rate.
He looked very strong. You know, a lot of times Blai's playstyle in general will throw people off, and even if they're very well practiced against Blai, he'll do something to throw them off. But ShoWTimE looked like he anticipated everything. Like, it was just... He was preset to deal with all of Blai's shenanigans.
Yeah, Zealous is getting every single base, and very unfortunate for Blai as he's one of our favorite Zergs, but he is going to tap out, and GG gets called. First best of 3 today will go in the favor of ShoWTimE. Now, of course, ShoWTimE's going to go on to fight against Hydra, and I think I'm going to try and work this out with where I want to cast both Hydra and ShoWTimE and Beastie versus Mana if possible, but I don't want to keep players waiting too long. So I'm going to message all the Mole. We're going to try and get things sorted. We're going to go to an ad break, and stick around, guys. We'll be back in 2 minutes.